In the year 1912, a masterpiece of human ambition and engineering was born. A ship so grand, so luxurious, and so mighty that people called it unsinkable. They named it Titanic. For some, it was a dream made of steel and fire. For others, it was a promise of a better tomorrow. The decks gleamed like palaces, the chandeliers sparkled with unmatched brilliance, and its size dwarfed every ship that came before. It wasn't just a vessel, it was the pride of mankind, the floating crown jewel of the modern world. And yet, history would remember it, not for its glory, but for the night it vanished into the freezing waters of the Atlantic. On April 10th, 1912, Southampton Harbor was alive with excitement. Thousands had gathered to see the Titanic begin her maiden voyage. Crowds cheered, hats waved in the air, and families wept both tears of joy and sadness as loved ones embarked. The rich carried their wealth, the poor carried their hopes, and everyone carried the same belief that this ship was safe, invincible, a promise of survival itself. No one could imagine that in just a few days, the same ship would be a tomb beneath the waves. As the Titanic sailed away, life on board was like a city afloat. In first class, men in tuxedos and women in sparkling gowns walked the grand staircase, their laughter echoing under the chandeliers. Fine wines were poured, orchestras played soft music, and dinners stretched for hours with endless courses. The wealthiest men in the world toasted to progress, and their wives admired the marble walls and polished wood that lined the rooms. Meanwhile, in third class, the world looked very different, yet no less alive. Immigrants heading for America gathered in simple halls, children playing games on the floors, mothers singing lullabies, fathers dreaming aloud of the life that awaited across the ocean. The air was thick with hope, and though their quarters were modest, their spirits soared. It was a ship of dreams, where rich and poor lived different lives, but sailed together toward the same horizon. For 4 days, the Titanic moved gracefully across the Atlantic. She cut through the water like a giant blade, her engines roaring with confidence. The weather was calm, the sea stretched endlessly, and passengers relaxed into the rhythm of the voyage. Some wrote letters, others strolled on deck. Couples whispered promises under the stars. It all seemed perfect, too perfect. But fate was moving silently. On the night of April 14th, 1912, the air grew colder than before. Passengers wrapped themselves in coats as a sharp wind bit through the decks. The sea, strangely, became calm and still, like a sheet of glass. Old sailors whispered that such stillness was dangerous. Somewhere in the distance, silent and waiting, lay an iceberg that would decide the destiny of the Titanic. At 11:40 p.m., a lookout spotted it. "Iceberg, right ahead," he cried, the alarm shattering the quiet night. The crew scrambled, the wheel turned, the mighty ship tried to swerve, but it was too late. The iceberg scraped along the starboard side, steel bending, rivets snapping, and in an instant, 6 compartments were torn open. The Titanic shivered, then grew silent again. To many passengers, it felt like nothing more than a bump in the night. They continued drinking, laughing, and dancing. No one could believe danger lurked beneath. But deep below, the icy Atlantic was flooding the ship's belly, unstoppable and merciless. Captain Edward Smith was informed. His face went pale, yet he remained calm. He knew the Titanic was doomed. He ordered the lifeboats prepared, but there was a truth darker than the night sky above them. There weren't enough lifeboats for everyone. Out of more than 2,200 souls, only about half could be saved. The realization hit like lightning. Lives would be chosen, and lives would be lost. At first, many refused to leave. "This ship can't sink," they argued. "It's the Titanic." But as the ship tilted and icy water crept into the hallways, reality could no longer be denied. Panic erupted. Mothers clutched their children, husbands begged for their wives to board lifeboats, and families cried as they were torn apart. The officers shouted, "Women and children first," but desperation drowned their voices. People pushed, fought, and prayed. The night was filled with fear, accompanied by different fighting. Knowing they argued with themselves, it was not enough. The lives would be chosen and lost. As a data with much integrity and slowing down the inevitable. Increasingly deep level of depression, this death only adds to it. Releasing the wider net is up to descending. Yet amid the chaos, acts of courage shone. The ship's band gathered on the deck, their violins trembling in the cold as they played hymns to calm the terrified passengers. Their music floated into the night, a haunting lullaby for those about to die. In the grand staircase, a man kissed his wife one last time, whispering, "I'll see you in the next life." In third class, fathers lifted their children over barriers, handing them to strangers in hopes they would survive. Even as death closed in, humanity flickered brightly. The lifeboats lowered, one by one, carrying the lucky few into the black ocean. Inside, survivors watched in horror as the Titanic tilted further. Its lights flickered, sparks showered into the night, and screams filled the air. The bow disappeared beneath the waves, and the stern rose higher and higher, a monstrous shadow against the stars. At 2:20 a.m., with a thunderous roar, the ship broke apart and slipped beneath the surface, leaving only silence, darkness, and more than 1,500 souls perished that night, swallowed by the Atlantic. Some died in seconds from the cold. Others drifted until their voices faded forever. The survivors, huddled in lifeboats, could only watch helplessly as the sea claimed their loved ones. Hours later, the Carpathia arrived, pulling the broken, shivering survivors aboard. Their faces told the story of a tragedy the world would never forget. The Titanic had set out as the pride of mankind, but ended as a lesson carved into history. It showed us the cost of arrogance, the fragility of life, and the cruelty of destiny. And yet, it also showed us bravery, sacrifice, and love in the face of certain death. The band that played to the end, the officers who gave their lives, the fathers who let go of their children so they could live. These stories shine even brighter than the chandeliers that once lit the Titanic's halls. Today, when we speak of the Titanic, we don't just talk about a shipwreck. We talk about human dreams and human flaws. We talk about the illusion of power and the reality of nature. The ocean reminded mankind that night that no matter how advanced, no matter how rich, we are still fragile before its might. The Titanic sleeps beneath the waves, but her story will never sleep. And as you listen to this story, remember this: history is not just about the past. It is a mirror for our own lives. If you want to keep traveling with me into the light of history, through stories of courage, tragedy, and lessons that still matter today, then hit that subscribe button, because many more journeys are waiting, and you won't want to miss them.